Tuesday marked 6 months since supporters of then-President Donald Trump and right-wing militants attacked the U.S. Capitol. Washington is still piecing together exactly what happened. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is putting together a select committee to look into the siege. Leanne, you were there on the day that the Capitol was attacked. What more do we know? What are the next steps here? Tell us more about this committee and what we can expect there, too.
So everyone's waiting on what GOP leader Kevin McCarthy is going to do. He's allowed 5 seats on this committee. Speaker Pelosi has already appointed her 8 members. One of them is including Representative Liz Cheney, a Republican. And McCarthy has not publicly said if he's even going to appoint Republican members to this committee. But our sources are telling us on Capitol Hill that he is, in fact, going to do so. And he is currently talking to his members to determine who he is going to appoint. So who he appoints is going to set the direction and the tone of the committee, because he has a choice. He has a wide swath of Republicans in his conference that range from January 6 deniers all the way to Republicans who voted to impeach the former president because of January 6. So whatever he chooses is going to be heavily scrutinized. Is he going to take this seriously, or is he going to make a mockery of it? And my sense is that it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. He's going to have a mix of members because a representative, for example, Rodney Davis, he's the head of the House Administration Committee. He's someone who voted in favor of creating the commission, the January 6th commission. He told me this week that Republicans were so fearful of the January 6th commission becoming political and bleeding into the election year next year. Well, what they are now getting is their worst nightmare. This is a very political committee that is going to do investigations, but is going to be controlled by Democrats, and Republicans are going to have to figure out how they are going to deal with it.
And I have to ask you about something else that's going on in the Capitol, and it's sort of head-spinning when I read this headline, and it is the Capitol Police, who saved lawmakers' lives, are running out of money. There's this supplemental funding bill that is literally stalled in the Senate.
Yeah.
Explain what is going on.
I know. So on one hand, you have the fencing around the Capitol that is starting to come down as we speak. This has been the most visible portion of Capitol security since January 6th, a constant reminder of what happened that day. That fencing is coming down, which I also need to say that talking to rank and file Capitol police officers, they are not very happy about it. They're still worried about the security threats, but the decision was made. Meanwhile, there is a funding gap of salaries for Capitol police officers. The House of Representatives passed a major funding bill about a month ago to accommodate all the increased needs of Capitol Police, including all the overtime they're doing, more equipment, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Capitol Police are now running out of money for salaries, and they could run out of money by mid-August and would have to furlough people. The reason is because that bill is stuck in the Senate. There are some Republicans who have said in the past that they don't think that additional money is necessary, and so there is some political wrangling there. But this publicization of the fact that they could run out of money is also a very prudent political ploy to put pressure on the Senate to act.
And Dan, I want to come to you on something that's related to January 6th, and that is former President Trump sued these tech companies because he's been blocked from the access to his account. What do you make of this lawsuit? Is it a distraction? And tell me a little bit about how important it is for former President Trump to continue to falsely claim that the election was rigged.
Well, let's start with the lawsuit. We know from his history that he is an incredibly litigious person.
Right. That's one way to put it.
He likes the idea of filing lawsuits, and he does them often for reasons of distraction or publicity. And I think this falls into that category. Every legal expert who has looked at this says it is a frivolous lawsuit. That the grounds upon which he is making the argument are that Facebook and Twitter and social media platforms are, in a sense, part of the government, and therefore they can't affect his First Amendment rights. They are not part of the government. They're private institutions. They're private companies. So that argument will fall apart. I mean, there is a debate about what you do about these companies in terms of regulating them, but that's a separate issue from what he's done. As for continuing to push the idea that this was a stolen election, a rigged election. It's simply, continuing to put, fuel on top of this fire within the base of the Trump support, and to try to keep that stirred up as a way both to keep him prominent, to disrupt his party in any ways he can, and to keep focus on the Democrats. And I think it's interesting. I think more Republicans are trying to walk away from that in quiet ways than perhaps at the beginning.
And I want to turn to voting rights. President Biden, he met with civil rights leaders. What's the White House strategy here? We're seeing GOP leaders move with such efficiency, passing hundreds of laws to restrict voting.
So we know that President Biden is going to Philadelphia on Tuesday to make a big speech, according to White House officials, about voting rights and about the need to protect them, especially as we are seeing so many of what you just mentioned, laws being changed around the country. And so we think that it is just the start of a series of speeches, as he's indicated before, that he will make. But, there's really little that he can do at this point from his view. He has to continue to try to push for those lawmakers on Capitol Hill to pass some sort of legislation, which is exactly why he brought the vice president on as well. And I'm sure Leigh can tell you that is going to be a very difficult feat.